So this is our official formal welcome to launching your data dashboard, everything you need to know to get started. Thank you for being here this morning, maybe very early in the morning or perhaps later in the afternoon. My name is Jamie Witman. I'm the Open Educational Practices Specialist with the OEN. Robin kicked us off yesterday with our OEN land acknowledgement. Sorry, let me just pull my chat up as well. Which is right here. As some of you may know, I'm located in northern Baltimore County, Maryland, where the Piscataway and the Susquehannock peoples were the original stewards of this land and were forced to cede it under extreme duress. However, they still maintain relationships with the land today, and fortunate to be in a state that has worked in formal compensated consultations with tribal leaders and elders to create land acknowledgements for all over the state, as well as educational resources. And while that, of course, is not enough, it is a start. My family and I are big hikers. So we're out in this land quite often every weekend. And so it's been a really powerful thing and wonderful thing to reflect on the Indigenous peoples of the past, present, and future, the lands that we work and live and play in, and great conversations for kiddos as we're hiking too. So I welcome you to share your own land acknowledgement in the chat if you'd like, and you can learn more at the Native Land digital site, which I will also drop in the chat. And then, of course, we share our community norms, which are also in the chat there. And then this session is being recorded. So the information about the dashboard is going to come at you pretty fast and furious. There's a lot within the dashboard. And so this will be recorded. It will be posted to our YouTube channel, as always, sometime after Engage, but it will also be added to the data dashboard documentation site, which I'm also going to share a link to. That is here. And so I'm going to stop sharing this slide and get started with the dashboard. So I will have the chat open. Barb will also be taking a look at the chat if some questions come in. So please feel free to put things in the chat as you have questions, but I will be going sort of just through the dashboard at a quick pace so we can get through all of the different shortcuts and pieces that you'll need to know to get started. Okay, so to get to your dashboard, so not everybody has access to the dashboard. So if you're here, you are hopefully the admin for your dashboard so that you can be the person that is tracking this data. From the OEN homepage here, you can click login. If you're already signed in, it'll pop you to this homepage. But once you sign in, likely you'll see this as your first homepage. So this is also where you can access any of our resources through here, divided up into our different pathways. Also our community conversations, Engage, and community news like our blog posts, the events calendar, and then of course the dashboard. So you can get to it from this tab here, or you'll see also up in the top there. So I'm just going to move my screen over here. All right, so this is the homepage of the dashboard. Before we get started moving through the different pieces, the goal of the dashboard is, of course, to be a place where you can track data, record and collect things about your faculty members, their adoptions, put on different workshops, create faculty groups, invite your faculty to do reviews of open textbooks in the open textbook library, which is a proven strategy for getting folks to adopt OER. And it's also a place where you can then take that data and export it and manipulate it and create data visualizations that you can then share with your own admins at your institutions or consortia to really show the growth of your programs and the efficacy of your programs as well. So of course, the dashboard is not going to be everything for everyone. We've tried to make it as efficient and effective for all of our members as possible. But of course, there are going to be things that you'd like it to do that it may not be able to do. But we do love to hear that type of feedback to see how we can revamp and refresh the dashboard. If you have not been in the dashboard in the last year or so, this is likely a new interface that you're looking at. We launched this newest version of the dashboard late summer, early fall last year. And so we had some consultations with community members to redesign and refresh both the look and feel of the dashboard, but also the ease of use, the intuitiveness of it, and to really create these connective threads from each shortcut to each other. Every piece of the dashboard is connected in some way. And so we hope that this most recent version is really easy to use and helps you get the information that you need. Okay, so these are sort of the main pieces of the dashboard. And sorry, just double checking the chat real quick. Okay. We have faculty, events, reviews, adoptions, export, and settings. The first thing we're going to quickly look into are the settings. This is something that is likely already set up in your dashboard if you've been in it previously, but if not, this will be the first thing that you'll do. And the other caveat for today, as well as we have both institutional members and we have consortial and system members. The view that we're looking at in the dashboard for training is the consortial view. It is very slightly different from an institutional view. If you're following along in your own dashboard and you're an institution, you'll notice you only have a general tab and a tags tab, whereas our consortias and systems will have this institutions tab and the terms tab. All of this information is still in that general tab there for individual members, individual institutions, but there are these very slight changes, and it's always easier to say, this will not be here than it is to say, imagine that you see this additional tab here. So that is why we're looking at the consortial view, but 95% of the dashboard looks exactly the same, and all of the functionality is the same across institutions and consortia. So on this first tab, this general tab, you'll see who has access to your dashboard. This is likely just you if you're here and you're the admin. You may have one other person. If you're a consortium, you may have two or three. Depending on how big your consortia or system is, you might have more folks that are working within the dashboard. You can also see any faculty or other instructional partners that might have access to the community hub. So this is all of those resources that we have available, as well as the events calendar. Those are folks that can access those parts of the hub, but not the dashboard. And then you'll see, for institutions, you'll see your terms listed on that same tab. This is fully customizable. Typical terms, of course, are fall, spring, summer, maybe a winter term. However, if you are an institution that does 7-week sessions, for instance, you could have 7-week session A, 7-week session B, or term J. This is all, again, fully customizable. For our consortial, you'll see a list of your institutions, and then you can make those individual updates by the institution itself. And on the institution tabs, you'll just see a full list of all of your member institutions.
Jamie, I just wanted to say that lots of new people are joining every minute. So welcome to the new people, and you're just a couple minutes in, but Jamie, we've had like 15 or 20 in the last couple seconds. So feel free to just kind of recap where you are, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sure, thanks. Yes, welcome everyone. Sorry for the Zoom glitch this morning. We are really just getting started. We've just looked at the dashboard and logged in from the OEN homepage. We're looking at our settings here. And this information will, as I said in the beginning, be coming at you very fast and furious. It is a lot to cover in this time. And which is one of the reasons why I actually offer trainings bi-monthly. So if there's something that you feel like I really glossed over too much, feel free to sign up for one of those trainings, which is on the Community Hub calendar. And then we also have a documentation site, which I just put in the chat as well, which covers everything that I'll cover today, as well as in those bi-monthly trainings, and has screenshots. So it's a really nice walkthrough with some visuals to get you going as well. Okay. Okay, so on this, and we are also looking at the consortial view. So if you're an individual institution, You might see some things that look very slightly different, but 95% of it is the same. And I will point out where those little changes are. So again, for consortium members, you'll see a list of your institutions. Using this key, you can also see if any of those institutions have their own dashboard and have an admin, whether they have any data or if they don't have any data. So in this case, in this training consortia, all 3 of my member institutions also have their own dashboards. Okay. All right, jumping back to the home page here. You can see we also have the sidebar navigation, which is nice. So when you're, again, working within a particular shortcut, you can then jump somewhere else very easily without having to come back to that home page. But now we're ready to get into kind of the core of the dashboard, which is working with your faculty. So the first step most people take with the dashboard is adding their faculty, of course, to the dashboard. You'll notice we have a very consistent theme throughout the dashboard. The way it looks is that you have these different tabs within each shortcut, each page. So this first tab here on this page is all of your individual faculty members. Faculty groups are different groups that you can create to group faculty. So this might be that they're coming from an event that you hosted or a workshop that you hosted, and now you're working with them in a group. It could be a grant program that you have. It might be that you're working very specifically with STEM faculty around OER or some other project. And so this is a way where you can set those groups to track specific information, not just about those individual faculty members, but the health of that group as well. So back on the main faculty page here, you can see we have some filtering options. Of course, the filter by institution is for our consortial members. You can also search here, and it will begin to pull up that individual person you're looking for. And then you can also include inactive, which we'll get to in just a second, but this kind of gives you an at-a-glance view of your faculty, how many reviews, adoptions they might have, the last time their profile was updated, and when they were last contacted. So to add new faculty, we have this plus new faculty button. So that will be the first step to getting folks added. And again, there are multiple ways to do things. So depending on your own workflows, we hope that the dashboard is a way for you to figure out which method is the best and which process works best for you. The first way to add a new faculty member is really simply by doing that new faculty. The only information you need to include is the first name, last name, and the email. But you can see there are some optional fields here. Address, this could be, their office on campus, so you could stop by, or if you do something like an OER Champions program, this would be a nice place to keep that information so you know where to send out their surprise that you might offer. Notes are private to you as the dashboard admin, and this is a place for you to record something that you might need to about a faculty member. Institution, of course, for our consortial members. Department is also something you can fill in if you'd like to have that information associated with your faculty. And then there are 2 settings within the dashboard here, and they kind of work in opposite ways. So by default, everyone is unmuted in the dashboard. This means that they will receive any communications that you send out through the dashboard. So this is review requests, adoption requests, any emails that you might be sending through the dashboard. However, some faculty prefer to hear directly from you, or they don't want automated, or what they feel is maybe an automated message or communication. So you can easily click this muted button, and this will mean that you have to contact them on your own and take that information that you're using the dashboard to set up and email them separately. The second setting within a profile is this active option. And so by default, everyone is marked as active. You can make somebody inactive, which will mean that they are removed from any of those communication screens. They're removed from that main faculty page that we looked at. So this might be somebody who has left your institution, for instance, but they have data associated with their account. So you don't want to delete them, but you no longer need to see this person appearing every time you pull up a particular group. So you can mark them as, or uncheck them. That will make them inactive. And then they sort of disappear from your view, but that data is still there. And then the other option for adding a faculty member right away, maybe this is a latecomer to a particular group. So you've already created that group and you just want to add them into it. You can automatically select a group right from the beginning and have them pushed over to that as well. Again, completely optional, but is another way to quickly move people around in the dashboard as you might need to. The other piece you'll see within a profile is this training consortium group. So this is the name of my consortium, and this other groups. For institutions, it will be the opposite. So this is the consortial groups, and this would be any individual institution that's a part of my consortium who also has a group with this faculty member. So this could be, for instance, if this is the Texas Digital Library, this would be any groups that TDL has set up. And this could be a group that Texas A&M has set up. Vice versa for our institutions, you'll see your own groups first. So this could be Texas A&M's groups, and this might be TDL's groups. And so it's a way for institutions and consortia to share information with each other and be able to communicate about particular faculty or particular programs and groups that are being set up. And then the last piece here is the tags option. So as I mentioned, we want the dashboard to be everything to everyone, but that's a really tough thing for really any platform or software to do. So this is a way where you can add some more granular information to the dashboard that's really specific and customized to what you might need. So this is tags. So this can be, you can see I have a collection of tags already in here, so I can easily select that. But I can also create a brand new tag at the time of need. And in that settings shortcut, you'll see your tags tab, and that's where you can go to make changes. You can see this is a different color, so I edited this at some point to make it a super bright green, so I would know that that's my federal grant tag. The default is sort of this darkish blue teal color, but that again is totally customizable, and they can be used across individual people, for groups, and as well as adoptions. So again, a way to allow you to build in some customization that's flexible across all of our members, but hopefully adds to some efficiency and efficacy for you. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So when you create that new faculty member, they will appear in your list of faculty here. The other option for adding new faculty is to import faculty. So perhaps it's been a while since you've been in the dashboard, or you're a new member and you haven't set up your dashboard yet, but you have 10 different spreadsheets of a bunch of faculty that you've worked with in the past that you want to get their information into the dashboard. You can use this import faculty option by clicking on this template. You'll see it'll download a CSV file here. It again asks for those 3 very simple things: last name, first name, email, and then of course institution for our consortium members. And then once you've filled that in, you can copy and paste from your own spreadsheets into this CSV file. You can come here, and then you'd be able to import this document. Obviously it's blank, I didn't fill it in, but this is where it would go. You'd hit open, it would appear. You could import, and then all of those folks would appear in your dashboard. And so then you could go in and make any edits, again, add additional information about folks. If you're using the import faculty option, you probably don't have any groups quite yet, so you wouldn't need to do this group membership, but this is where you can make any changes or adjustments to that information. Double check in the chat. Thanks, Barb, for answering those questions. All right. Okay, yes. The other great thing that you get to learn in these dashboard training sessions is my love of pop culture and my favorite characters. So yes, Ron Swanson would definitely be pro OER. And okay, so the next part is faculty groups. So again, you can add these individual folks to your dashboard, and you may only want to work with those individuals. You may have no need to create a particular group around folks. But as I said, you might have a grant program or a workshop that you put on, which will automatically create a group for you, or some other way that you want to group folks and kind of track that information. So again, we have some filter options, filter by institution for our consortium members. And then you could create your own group here. So this would be, it's called Engage dashboard. So you can add your name of the group. This default cost per person, something the dashboard will do for you is calculate your return on investment, your ROI. And the way it does this is it looks at this default cost per person and any student savings that are associated with adoptions for that person. So for instance, if you have a workshop and everybody gets $250 for attending said workshop, you can add this default cost there. As those folks have adoptions added to their profiles, the dashboard will make those calculations to give you a return on investment. However, you may have a grant program where adopters are going to get $500 and creators are going to get $1,000, which is on the low end, but we all know how finances work in the libraries and in our OER program. So that might be what you have. In that case, you can leave this at 0, and then you can individually update those costs per person. So it does not have to be standardized across a group. It can be customized to that person and the workload that they have or the project that they're working on. And you also do not have to add cost. If you don't have any cost associated with a program or a workshop or anything like that, it can remain at 0 as well. Group description, of course, you can add a little description in there if you'd like. Additional table columns, this is hard to explain without seeing it as we look at it, but this is a way where you can track additional information about a group. So the main kind of columns that we're going to see are the person and what's associated with that person, the default cost, and whether they've attended or checked into a particular event, perhaps. This additional table columns allows you to add more information that you'd like to track. So for instance, maybe you have liaison librarians who are working with your faculty on their particular projects. The dashboard is really meant to track faculty. So even if they're technically a part of this group, this might be, you don't want to add that faculty member to the dashboard. It can skew your data and your metrics. So adding partner or librarian or instructional designer as an additional table column is a way where you can say, oh, Jamie's got to make sure she meets with Barb to get that work done today. So this is where you can go ahead and put something like that in. If you want to track their project name, this is another place you can do that. And then, as I mentioned, tags can also be used across groups. So this is where you can add something that you already have. So maybe these are folks who are adopting OER, or you can also create something at the time of need if you needed to. And then again, this is for consortium members. This might be a group from multiple institutions that are a part of your consortium, or you can select an individual one if you know it's just for that single institution. Go ahead and hit save here. So now I've created this group. I can come back and edit it if I need to, but this is also where I can now start adding folks. So if you have already added folks to your dashboard, you can very easily add somebody to the dashboard or add somebody to this group. You can see that I now have my additional columns up here that I can just add some plain text right into those columns, so I can track that information if it's important to me. I can also update that individual person's cost if I'm going to have varied costs within this group. If they're not already in the dashboard, you can add somebody right away. So again, first name, last name, email, and their institution for a consortium. So we can do oops. select my institution, add them to the group. And so now that person has both been added to this group, but they will also now appear in my main faculty tab as well. So it is time of entry, but also added to the dashboard itself. And then you can also add multiple faculty. So similar to that kind of import function, if you know you want to start by creating groups and then add your faculty, you can copy and paste from your spreadsheet. All you need, email, first name, last name, and then groups for consortium, you'll need an institution name. You can, if you have them separated in a spreadsheet by particular institution, you can use this checkbox to select this one, copy and paste one person per row from your spreadsheet, click add to group, and it will add all those folks to this group. Then you would open this up a second time, select a different institution, and do the same thing. If they're kind of all mixed in your spreadsheet and you don't want to sort through them, you can also just type in that institution name or copy it from your spreadsheet, add them this way, and then they would all appear in the group here. Take a quick sip. And just double check the chat. Okay. Thanks, Barb and Robin, for taking a look at questions in the chat. All right, so now we have our group. We have two folks in our group. If you have this little icon, this means this person is participating in multiple groups, which, as we know, that is something Leslie Knope would do. So she is a part of multiple different OER programs and programming. But from here, there's many things that you can do with your group. You can create a request, which we will look at in a little bit. But what this does is it allows you to create either that adoption update information request or the review request. So these folks can review a textbook in the OTL. And it will only select these two people from this particular group. So it makes it really easy to work with individual folks, with specific folks very quickly. And we'll look at, again, the requests in a little bit. But the other thing you can do by checking these checkboxes here are all these different options within this with selected option. Okay, that's weird. So you can deactivate folks. So this might be that somebody joined this group or they submitted an application to be a part of an OER grant program. Maybe they didn't finish their project. Mitigating circumstances came up and they weren't able to complete whatever they were doing. You can move this person to this inactive tab. So what that does is it still associates them with this particular group, but they would not appear in any requests that you might send out for this group. And this is, again, a place where there's meant to be flexibility. So it's really around your own processes and workflows as to whether you decide to inactivate somebody or remove them from the group. Again, this is meant to give folks the ability to make those decisions for themselves and have different ways to interact with their dashboard and the folks in their dashboard. So deactivate keeps them in the group, but moves them to this inactive tab. Removing them from the group removes them entirely from the group. They remain in your dashboard as a faculty member, but they would not be associated with this group. You can update student enrollments from here as well. So if you know you've got data back from a particular group, you can come right to here and then update their enrollments for that semester. You can email the group. So maybe you want to send out a communication. Maybe you have a Zoom meeting coming up with folks to talk about their projects. Everybody can get together and kind of have this synchronous moment together. You can click email and it will open your default browser, your default email in your browser, and then you can send a message to everybody in this group. And then the last one here is add groups tags to faculty, which sounds a little bit weird and clunky, but what it means is this tag right now that I put for this group is only associated with this group. It's not actually associated with the people. So they don't have a tag listed But some folks may want to have both a tag, the same tag for the group itself and for the people in the group. So clicking this add groups tags to faculty, you get your little flash message up here. And then if we click into this person, we'll see that that tag has automatically moved to this profile. So groups and people can have same tags. They can have multiple different tags. They can have some of the same, some of the different. But that's one kind of easy way to get that synced up, as opposed to having to go to each individual profile and add that yourself.
Jamie, Barb is off
Yes.
working on some Zoom stuff. So quick question from the
Okay.
chat. Does
Yes.
the dashboard maintain a communication log of the emails that are sent?
It does not have a copy of the emails that you would have sent in the dashboard, but it will add a last contacted date to that faculty member. So when you're looking at this kind of at a glance view, you'll see that date appear there for whenever you sent that last email. But the email itself is not saved anywhere in there. Great question. Yes, correct. If Abby, it will, if you use the OEN event registration, it will show you the exact communication that you sent out. The communications for review requests and or review invitations and adoption requests are also customizable. So that text is yours to create, and it will be saved in the dashboard itself. And you can also reuse it for future requests. You can customize it each time, whatever works for you. Yes, thanks, Abby. Okay, and so now we've created that group. It appears in our dashboard. We can come back to it, continue to add folks if we need to, create those requests if we need to, but it lives now in our at a glance view of our faculty groups. Thanks, Ryan. We will think about how we could maybe update that somewhere. And I should have mentioned in the settings, there is this tags tab where you can keep track of all of your tags and you can see where they're being used across those three schemas here. So groups, users, and adoptions. So if something is being used across multiple places, you'll be able to see it here. And this is also where you can come in and clicking in it will show you those specific schemas that it's being used in, those specific groups or specific people, or specific adoptions. And this is also where you can make your adjustments color-wise and all that good stuff. Hi. Right, so far that is everything with faculty. And again, I apologize that things move very quickly in this, and especially getting started a little bit later. I don't want to rush through anything, but please continue to put questions in the chat, and I will make sure to keep looking at it a little bit more while Barb is off doing her thing. Okay. The next piece is looking at events. So events can be used to track workshops that you might be hosting, any type of professional development events that you might be putting on around your open initiatives at your institution or consortia. Again, filter by institution for consortial members. This is that at a glance view that you have, as you do on every shortcut here of the different events that you might have hosted. And then this is one of the more involved pieces of kind of setting up something within the dashboard, is setting up these events, as well as the adoptions and the review invites. So give this event a name. For consortia, you'll select institution information. Then you'll select your date and time, and you'll see there is also this asynchronous option. For asynchronous events, what it will do is just kind of add it to your dashboard, but there won't be anything associated with it, except for that it's an event that you hosted. So there will be no specific date or time associated with it. But that is something folks might do for a grant program. For instance, they might have asynchronous modules that they ask folks to go through to get them educated around Creative Commons, for instance. This is one way to kind of track the folks that are supposed to be attending or participating in those asynchronous modules. So otherwise, we would select our event date and time. You should have it default to your time zone. We have had some tricky issues with the time zone customization. So if there's any issues with your time zone, please let us know right away and we'll take a look at that. But it should update for you. And then there are a few options within this. So the first is whether you're going to use the OEN promotion page. If you don't use it, your dashboard is just going to give you the date and time. You'll be responsible for adding folks to the event itself as participants or as registrants. And you'll also be responsible for the promotional information about this event. If you use the promotion page, we'll see a preview of it in just a moment, but you can set your registration deadline. This is either a Zoom link, a Teams link, or maybe it's a classroom building. You'll add that location information. We have two default event workshop descriptions, which are our adoption workshop and the open pedagogy workshop. Even selecting one of these, this text is still fully customizable. If you customize one of our defaulted templates, you'll see that it will actually save it as a previous event description. So in the, this is called Engage Dashboard. So the next time I make an event, whatever I wrote for Engage Dashboard will appear, so I could continue to use that customized text if that's something I wanted to do. Second decision you'll have to make is whether you're going to use the OEN registration system or your own registration system or no registration system. So this would be if you are just using a Zoom registration or a Teams registration, or you use libcal or something like that. This is where you could use that. You could put that URL, so you can still use the promotional piece of the workshop, but you'll still be responsible for importing those registrations and those folks into the dashboard. Using the OEN registration system will allow those folks to automatically be added to the dashboard, which is a really nice feature. And we've looked at the data before, and it's like 98% of users who are doing events and workshops use the OEN registration system. So from there, you also have a couple of decisions you can make. If you have a room that has space constraints, this is where you can set up a wait list for a certain number of registrations. You can also add additional registration fields. So this would be if you want to collect their department information, accommodation requests. So if somebody needs an ASL interpreter, for instance, they can give you that information at the time of registration, and you can ensure that you have those accommodations in place, ready to go. So you're not, scrambling at the last moment. Make sure everybody is able to be included in the event. Employee ID, if you need to send stipends out, for instance, and you need an employee information for that, you can also ask for that within the registration as well. Hit save here. So this is what my event page will look like. This is what that promotional page looks like. So when you copy this link and you send out an email to folks, you can send them this link for registration. This is the promotional page for it. All that information we entered in there is there. Our text about the event itself. And then this is where folks will register. So let's go. We're on here. And then again, people with consortiums will have folks enter their institution. So you'll get a little flash message that you've registered. If we refresh this page, we'll see that Ron has automatically been added to the registration for this. So again, using the OEN's registration system automatically adds all of your registrants to the dashboard, as opposed to having to manually enter those folks in. Of course, you still can manually do it. So somebody emails you frantically, the registration has closed and they want to be a part of this, you can manually add that person exactly as you do with adding a new faculty member. And if they're already a part of the out of your dashboard, everything will sync, and so it won't create like a duplicate person. It will just be in here. So as folks register, they will start to appear within your registration page. You can close the registration. So if you set up that wait list, you'll get a second tab that says wait list here. You can see how many folks are on there. You can move them from the wait list to the registration page. If you've hit that space constraint, you can then close registration. So anybody who registers, anybody who tries to register will not be able to. And again, this might be where you say, okay, I'm going to add this extra person, and you can add somebody from there. Okay. The other thing that using the OEN registration system does is give you this check-in option. So at the time of the event, this is a link that you can copy and paste into chat, for instance, and folks can enter their email address and check in. So this is a really nice way to, let's refresh. We can see Ron's now got his little check-in option here. This is a really nice way for folks to, as the admin, to really take attendance at your events and your workshops. Of course, people register for things and things come up and they're not able to attend. So by using this check-in link, this is one way to kind of track who's registered and who actually checked into the event or who actually attended that event. And then you can do with that information as you would like to do. The dashboard does not automatically remove people from things if they've registered, but they don't check in. Again, it's meant to be flexible so that it can follow your own processes and you can decide how you handle those different situations. If it's an in-person event, you can take this link and turn it into a QR code and post it up on your slide deck so people can scan it and check in that way. If somebody shows up, they have the link to your workshop, or they walk into the room that you're in and they try and check in and it says they can't find their email. They can, of course, try again, but they also have the option of registering at the time of the event. So if we jump back to our dashboard and refresh here, we can also see somebody registered and checked in at the time of the event. So again, another really nice way to have folks have that attendance captured and not leave anybody out of the space of the event or the workshop.
And Jamie, is there an option to export the list of all participants from the system?
Yes, in the export shortcut, there are ways where you can export literally everything in your dashboard all at once. There are also ways where you can only export, just this list if you wanted to just export this list. And we'll look at that hopefully soon. Okay, so I am going to make this a past event. Let's see, sometimes it doesn't like when I do this, but yeah. Okay. So let's say you've had your event. It has now finished. Based on the date and time, the dashboard will automatically end the event. You will get this flash message the next time you visit this page, which will ask you to create a group from the event. So once the event has ended, there's not much else to do with this page. It's kind of just a record of who originally registered. Again, you can add additional registrants, but what makes more sense as you move forward with these folks is to just add them to the group from the event. So you can do that by clicking this button. If you look at this and you step away and you forget and you come back to your event, it will give you that pop-up again. So don't worry, you won't ever lose that. And there's also a big purple create group button at the very bottom if for some reason you can't see this flash message. So from here, we'll create this group. It will automatically just name it the name of that event. So you can come in here and make any changes to it if you'd like. But now you're really interacting with these folks the same way that you do with a group. So this is where you can send these specific people a request. So thinking about hosting an adoption workshop, for instance, once that workshop has ended, you can then come to this request button and then send them out that review invite, which, as I said, is one of the proven strategies for getting folks to adopt OER and to participate. You can see our checked-in options filtered over, and now you can work with these folks as you would with any other faculty group that you might be working with. So if you had folks who maybe they registered and they didn't attend, and your process is to reach out to them and still see if they want to participate. You can still add folks to this group if you'd like to. If they missed their chance because they didn't attend, you can handle those folks in a different way. But if we come to our faculty groups, we'll now see we've got this faculty group here. If we forget we've made that group and we jump back to our event, it will tell you that it's ended and that you've already made this group. And so you can just jump right to that group and begin working with those folks. So again, really meant to tie together and create these connective threads across the different pieces of the dashboard so that you can work very specifically with the folks you need to work with at that time. But you also have the option to kind of work more globally across your dashboard if that's how your processes and workflow kind of happens. Okay. So from here, the last two main pieces are reviews and adoptions, and those are really where you're working with faculty to capture information from them that they're going to submit to you. So jumping to the reviews shortcut, again, you have your at-a-glance review here of all of the requests you've sent out. Any of the reviews that have been completed will appear on this reviews page. Because this is a training account, there is only one review because it's very difficult to make a fake OTL and a fake review for a fake OTL textbook. So this is there's just one to kind of look at here. But on your own, you should see lots of different reviews if you send them out to folks. And if you want to look at somebody's review, you can come here to edit it. We do not edit any faculty reviews of textbooks in the OTL. We want them to be as authentic as possible. However, you might notice a grammatical error or a spelling error and you want to clean it up for your faculty member, or they might notice and they say, hey, my review this is misspelled. Can you fix it? This is a way for you to go ahead and do that for folks. We've also have faculty who have maybe reviewed an OER and used it for a semester and they want to change the review. It's either better than they thought, or maybe there's a piece that they realized is kind of missing and they want to make sure that their review is accurate. This is the way that you can do that for your faculty, but we do not edit reviews for higher stars or for better reviews. But there is an option to edit if it's something that's needed. We also have this copy review URL. This is a really nice thing for faculty for promotion and tenure. This is a way where you can send them a direct link to their review on the OTL so that they can save it and they can share and say that they've reviewed this OER. Just another kind of nice thing for faculty to have. Okay. And then the next step is really doing the review requests themselves. This is starting from the review shortcut. So this means that you'll be selecting from across your dashboard, so that more global aspect of using the dashboard. Review. You'll select your deadline. This is a review invite. And then we have a few options here. So if you are doing incentives for folks, you can check this button. It does not do anything in the dashboard except give you an alert when somebody has completed their review, so that you as the admin can say, okay, I've got to send this person their incentive. Completely optional. You can send your reviewers a certificate of completion automatically. So once they complete the review, they just get a nice PDF of a certificate of completion. Again, takes kind of the burden of supporting faculty for P&T off of you, but gives them something nice to keep for that. And then this last one is allow your recipients' institutions to make updates to request recipients. For our institutional views, it will say users, it will say allow recipients consortium to make updates. So this would be perhaps you're going to be out, and if a faculty member says, I'm not going to be able to do this review by the deadline, this would allow that person's institution to update that deadline for that individual faculty member, and vice versa. If you're the institutional admin and you're going to be out, it allows your consortial admin to make that update. It doesn't change anything else. Very like logistical updates only. It's not changing text or anything like that. It's just typically making a deadline update. Internal notes just for you as the admin. And now the rest of this is exactly the same. Really, all of this is exactly the same for the adoption request as well as the review request. So you'll set your date that you want to send it out. This is fully customizable text here. And then we have some pre-formatted text that links to the OTL, links to their custom link for the review, adds in your deadline, and then just a sort of little good luck statement here. If you make customizations to it, you can save this as the default for all of your invitations moving forward. And then you can send reminders. So you can add as many reminders as you think your faculty may need. Or you can add no reminders or one reminder. And again, the rest is kind of the same here. You can add an optional survey. We have just a few questions that you can add to this survey here, which might be helpful. You also don't have to use the survey, and because this text is customizable, if you have your own more robust survey you'd like to use, you can also just add a link very easily to your message that goes out to folks. And then lastly, because this is creating the request from the review versus from a specific group, again, you're looking at your dashboard sort of globally. So these are all of your different groups in the dashboard. So this is a way, particularly with adoption requests, where you can select multiple groups to send it out to. This again is for consortium. So for our institutional users, you'll just see a list of all your groups. And you can make some additional filters here. Once you've selected your groups, you'll hit update list. It'll give you all of the people who are a part of those groups that meet your other filter options. Now you'll select all of them if that's what you need to do. Hit preview. And then this is what your communications will look like. Double check that you've got the right folks in there. Then hit send and schedule. And we now have our review here. If you need to make those individual deadline updates, you can do so from here. You can also resend invitations, copy the URL if somebody can't find their original invitation. You can just email this back to them, but you can make any of those changes you need to here. And then that is the same with doing the adoption requests. The form you're going to see, it looks exactly the same, so I'm not going to go through it because I know we're very close to the time, but you'll see it's exactly the same. The text is just slightly different to talk about adoptions versus reviews. Okay, so here are all of your adoption requests. Again, you're kind of at a glance view here. These are all of the adoptions you have in your dashboard. So by person and course name, you kind of, again, have that at a glance view of how many enrollments, what the total savings is, and what the last semester is that has, or what the last term is that has information. So as you're updating your dashboard, this will, of course, update as you add fall and winter and spring as time continues. You do not have to have a faculty member associated with an adoption. So this is a big change from previous iterations of the dashboard. Previously, you had to have a faculty member attached to an adoption, but we know that a lot of institutions and folks maybe track by gen ed courses too. That's an easy way to get folks into OER. So tracking something like Psych 101, where it does not matter who's teaching that course, every single person uses an OER. This way you don't have to add those individual folks to track all of that information. You can simply add the course itself, and then your enrollments might be exponential compared to some of the other ones, but it saves you time as an admin for adding that information in there. And then enrollments, this is where you can actually come to update that information. So in addition to being able to send those requests out to folks for faculty to do themselves, we also, of course, know that communication can be hard with faculty. They have a lot on their plate as well. It can be hard for them to get back to you in a time frame that makes sense. One of the other ways that you could do this is the kind of process that I took when I was a community college librarian was I would get a gigantic spreadsheet from my enrollment services office, and then I would go through the courses that I knew were using OER and track enrollment myself, as opposed to trying to have faculty send me their enrollment information. So this is a way where you can do that too. So if that's better for your processes and workflows, this is where you can come in and make those updates for faculty. You can filter by years so that you have the different semesters for each year pop up, and of course other filters here. And then the last page is this metrics tab, which I have opened in a different tab. There's a lot of test data, as you would imagine, in the training account. So it takes a really long time to load. But this is a way to kind of get what we call data slices. So this is looking at student savings, students impacted, faculty using OER used in courses, your ROI, as I mentioned, and adoption rate. So I don't have any faculty costs entered. It's showing me 0 right now. But this is where you can kind of get a nice graphic that you can use in a slide deck that you might be sharing with admin. And you can also change the axes here from student savings by term to by group, subject, et cetera. And then same with all of the other ones. And I know that we are technically at time, so please feel free to step away if you need to. I will.
A great final question there. I think a lot of people might be interested in. Jamie, if you can grab that last one in the chat.
Yeah. Lauren, great question. So technically both. In the adoptions, this is the kind of last big piece with adoptions. If you send out the adoption request, they will be asked to enter that cost in the adoption. However, as I said, it's not always possible to get that information from a faculty member in kind of the time that you need to. So in looking at an adoption, you can also enter them yourself. So you have the option of selecting an OTL textbook or another OER that's not in the OTL, giving it a title, selecting the subject, putting that replace textbook cost, and then this defaults to $100. You can see I've adjusted it here for this course, but then this is where you would put that replaced cost to. So really, it depends on if you expect your faculty to respond to those adoption requests, or if you yourself are going in and making those adoptions, creating those adoptions yourself. Yeah, great question. So if you have trouble hearing from your faculty, which is always possible. Again, they have a lot going on for themselves. This is where you can come in and create those adoptions yourself. And so maybe you create them the first time and then you send those adoption requests, and instead they're just updating the enrollments as opposed to adding the adoption itself. And so this is where you can add those numbers. We hit July 1st, so we have populated for our next set of semesters for the year. So now we've updated to 26, 27. So as those enrollment numbers come in, you'll be able to enter that information. And then there's also an import adoption. So very similar to the import faculty, there's a template that captures all of that information, including the replaced cost, the title of the textbook, or the OTL link. And you can import that into your dashboard instead of having to manually enter the adoptions if you've been tracking this elsewhere for the last several years. And then lastly is the export, as Robin mentioned. So we have several options, and again, please feel free to drop off if you need to. But we have two options that are set up for you to use a different platform. So one is Airtable, and we have many users that have gotten started with Airtable. So we have some instructions for getting set up. If you're using a free Airtable account, you can only have 1,000 records. And so we will tell you how many rows you have so you'll know if your data is going to get cut off. But you can export directly to Airtable. We have a template set up that you can use to set up your bases for that. You can also export to Google Sheets, which will look like this, and it will pull over all your data, and then you could use Google's native tools too. Sorry, native tools to set up graphs and things like that. Or you can simply download all of your data in a CSV file and do what you would like to do with it. So you can download literally everything for all of your individual institutions, if you're a consortium. You can download, as Robin mentioned, by group. So if you just want to look at the memberships of that particular group, you can grab that CSV file. You can also do all of the groups, and then that is the same all the way down, either all your reviews or by individual reviews, all your adoptions by individual adoptions. And that is the dashboard. Again, very fast and furious, and I'm sorry we got started a little bit late. So it's maybe even a little faster than I would have liked to. But the last thing I will share too is if you look at your account, you can come to this report issues and feedback, which will bring you to this Google form. This is both an opportunity to share feedback. So if you have UI suggestions or ways that we could make it better for you. Not always possible to do everything, as I said. We try as much as we can to be everything for everyone. But if it's something we can do and take into consideration as we build out future versions of the dashboard, we'd love to hear from you, as well as troubleshooting. So if you're having an issue, feel free to use this form to let us know. And we would not be where we are without Andy, our developer, who is really the mastermind behind the programming for the dashboard. And he is really a pleasure to work with, and he is so quick at solving problems when there are problems. So please feel free to use this form. You can also just reach out directly to me too if you're having an issue, and happy to set up a quick Zoom call if that's what it takes, to quickly jump through something or whatever you might need. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing, but I'm going to take a look at the chat. So we're going to see all of the specific OEN titles that have been adopted other than they don't. That is a good question. Let me pull my dashboard back up. You can, so it is still technically what we call a report, I suppose, but it is all of your adoption courses. So it would show you all of the textbooks that are being used, but it is in that export kind of field. And if you're going through those exports and it's not showing you all the textbooks, you can't figure out how to get it, we can look into it and make sure that there is a report that will show you all of that. Thanks, everyone. Take care.